Welkom terug voor diegenen die al aanwezig waren vanochtend. En voor diegenen die niet aanwezig waren, welkom. Voor de derde coaching vandaag. Waarom mag ik de introductie geven? Ik ben sinds 1 januari 2026 de interim technisch directeur van de Nederlands Basketbalbond geworden. Brian Benjamin is gestopt, dus ik mag zijn rol vervullen. Ik ben zelf geen Nederlander, dus dan spreek ik soort van een rare versie van Nederlands. Dat is Nederlands, maar dat is wat het is. Ik ga ook straks terug naar Engels. Het echt een eer om aanwezig te zijn, om naar het verhaal van Sergio te luisteren. Ik ben zelf even coach sinds Londen Olympische Spelen geweest. Na 3 Olympische Spelen geweest als coach. Dus voor mij is het ook een hele interessant moment. Over winning gedrag van coaches. Wat ik wil eerst zeggen eigenlijk, is een hele grote bedankt aan Jork en Zere. Die hebben dit allemaal, en Bo, allemaal dit geregeld. Hè? Dus dank jullie wel. Dus, now I'm going to switch to my best Australian. I'm an expert in that language. I was just saying it's an honor to be able to be here, to have someone of your experience present such an amazing subject to us. It's been a lifelong study for myself, so I'm just flabbergasted to be able to hear the story. And I think that also for the coaches it has an enormous value because it's about the art of coaching here, and not so much the science, but about the behavior of coaches and how we can optimize performances of not just the team for today, but ongoing. So as coaches. So big round of applause for Sergio. Thank you very much.
You're really Australian, because that Dutch sounded really good.
Yeah, but you can ask these people. I don't know, like, what is this language?
How long have you been here?
Long enough to speak better Dutch.
Listen, thank you so much everyone for being here. How many of you were in the clinic downstairs before? Okay, alright, so you already are aware of some of my tendencies to play games. Okay, so let's play a game to start with. Before we talk about serial winning coaches, okay, let's give you all a chance to become a serial winner. Alright, so need everybody to stand up and come here. Come on the floor. Sorry. Right. Okay. Remind me of your name. Cooper. Cooper. Cooper, have you ever played rock, paper, scissors? Yeah. How do you say that in Dutch? Steen, pies, gaar. Steen, pies, gaar. Did I? Yeah. Was it 80% there? Okay. Okay. So we're gonna go rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay. All right. So we're gonna play 1v1. Okay. So if we play for real now, like I'm getting in your head already. Okay. You're gonna lose. Okay. You're gonna work. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. I lost.
He told you he was going to rock.
No, I know. Yeah. Right. Okay, so I've lost the game. So now I become your fan. Okay, so you're gonna play the next game against someone that also won their game. So you won your game, for example. What's your name?
Tim.
Okay. Okay. I'm rooting for you. Okay. Go back. And you play your game. Right? Play your game. Go back. Go back. Oh, you lost. Okay, so now we both become his fan. Okay, until we've only got 2 people left. Okay? You're playing here for the pride of your nation. I've done this in about 70 different countries. Okay? I want to see which country is the loudest. I'm writing a book about who's the loudest. Okay? Alright? Ready? Play. Play by someone play and keep playing until you lose. Okay? Go.
Yeah. Ben je klaar?
Ja, dat komt. Wat? Go, go, go! I like this game. Next loser. Is the one there? Okay, so we got a finalist here. Okay, and I promise, performance director, this is not a fix. It is fixed. Keep one straight, okay? And you two are still on?
Yeah.
You are playing, so you need to.
We need to
play each other. They need to, yes,
Dat is een goede
we want to listen to it. That's what they're paying me. Keep going. Come on, someone has to win it. Final, who's behind? Okay, so what's your name? Goran. Okay, so you're here for Goran. Okay, so Goran, you need better supporters. Okay, Victor. Goran. Last game. Okay, ready? Syria, winner!
Okay, Vic, I sent you the invoice. It's okay.
So, listen, thank you for that. Please remember, all of you were down there before, we have to make things entertaining for the kids, especially for the younger kids, but for everybody. Initially, when I asked you to come down here, you were getting out of your seat like this. Oh my God, what the hell? What is this guy about? Come on. By the end, everybody was into it, having a good time. Please, don't forget that. Yeah, if you enjoy it, they will enjoy it. Okay? And the same for me. I want to do a presentation, but I want to enjoy myself. If I enjoy myself, then hopefully you'll enjoy yourself and you will learn something. Okay? So, the anatomy of success. Learning from serial winning coaching. We've been very lucky. Okay. In my life, really, that I've always had a double role, if you will. Okay, so I'm a coach. Okay, I'm still a coach. I should be coaching today. We've got a game. My assistant coach is taking it. I coach in Manchester in a performance club, and I'm very lucky that I get invited to do things like this. I present in clinics all over. Okay, but I'm also I have a very good relationship with referees, as you can see there. Okay, it's my trademark. I remember exactly what he was saying to me at that point. But I'm also an academic. I work in a university. I do research into coaching. I'm very lucky that my whole day revolves around coaching, whether that is researching, teaching, or coaching myself. Okay, so I'm saying that because I don't want you to look at this presentation and the study that we've done and the book that we published as a research job only. Okay, it's for coaches. It's by a coach for coaches, and everything I do is informed by my work as a coach. I want to do research that is helpful for coaches because I'm the most selfish researcher in the world. If it's not going to help me, I won't do the research. Okay, because I want the research to be helpful to the coach. So, what is a serial winning coach? Okay, a few years ago, we were very, very fortunate that we were commissioned by an organization called the International Council for Coaching Excellence, which is a global organization whose job is to improve coaching globally. Okay, and they asked us to follow and interview a group of serial winning coaches that have won repeatedly at the highest level of the game. the sport. Gold at the Olympics, gold at the World Championships, or champions in very professional leagues. Okay? So that started back in 2012. Since then, we've been doing research in this area, okay, for the last 10 plus years. We've been very fortunate to study people like Jelko, okay, like Sergio Lara, okay, and in a couple of weeks, I'm going down to spend a week with Sergio in Madrid to do another study, to explore another area of coaching. Pablo Lasso, okay, and now we're currently doing a study with Thomas Isola, okay, which I heard this morning his name. Hilke mentioned Thomas Isola 50 times, okay. So I will be texting Thomas later to say, man, they love you in the Netherlands, okay. So, but really, really interested in coaches that have won repeatedly, okay? Coaches that can win in different places. So sometimes, for example, when you look at Rafa Nadal's coach, okay, is he a serial winning coach? Or did he just happen to have the best tennis player? Okay? I'm doing him a massive disservice, okay? I'm sure he's a great coach, okay? But we were looking at people that were able to win in different places, with different players, and in different times. And they weren't just basketball, okay? I'm showing you the basketball ones because most of you are basketball coaches. But we interview coaches from field hockey, ice hockey, rowing, all kinds of sports, okay? Anyway, now, we only interviewed a few female coaches, okay? But I wanted to make sure that we didn't forget about female serial winning coaches in basketball, because there are, okay? So we have to make sure, and I see there are some women in the room, that we recognize that serial winning is not just only for men, okay? There are great female coaches out there, okay? And these two fantastic women are proof of it. Okay, so traditionally, coaching research looks at the tip of the iceberg, the behaviors of coaches that we can see. So we go there and we look at people coaching and we go, oh, that's good, that's good, that's good. Okay. We wanted to do a little bit of that, okay, but we weren't so much interested in that, okay, because we have an opinion that when you, and you know this, right, you're coaching, the 90 minutes or the 2 hours you spend with the players on the court, that is only a tiny bit of coaching. Coaching is everything else. It's the organization. It's the building relationships. It's everything else. The time we spend on the court is the easy bit. Okay, is the nice. Okay, the 70 minutes that I spend with the kids out there, that's easy. Okay, that's life. Okay, it's all the other stuff. It's now when I look at my phone, I'll probably have 10 or 15 messages from the parents of the players. Why are you not here today? I'm in the Netherlands eating cheese. Okay? Alright? So all that is part of coaching. So we wanted to understand what else do they do? But also we wanted to understand who they are. Because these are very special people. Okay? We wanted to understand what does it take, what kind of personalities does it take to become a serial winner? What do you need to be, okay, as a person? And we also wanted to understand, like I say, what other elements of the job are beyond delivering a training session or beyond coaching in a game. Alright, so a bit of a warning. You know who this guy is? Is he famous in the Netherlands as well? Gordon Ramsay, Hell's Kitchen. Okay. So I'm not here to give you a recipe for success, because it doesn't exist. Okay. All these coaches that we've been working with over the years, they're all different. Okay. But what I'm going to try and give you here is some ideas about what things seem to be important for everybody. Back to the idea of principles that we saw. The principles of basketball are the same, but all of you can interpret them in different ways. The principles of leadership and working in a way that gives you a chance of winning are the same, but how they come across depends a lot on you, on who you are, on your context. So there might be things that I say today that you go, yeah, that's me in the blue corner there. I do that already, and I'm very good at that. Okay, great. There might be other things that you go in the green. Yeah, I'd love to be like that, but not yet. I'm not ready for that yet. I need to learn to do that. But there might be other things that I say that you go, no, that's not for me. I can't do that. It goes against my personality, my principles, whatever it is. And that's perfectly fine. Because there isn't one way to win. Okay? If you look at the picture before, Obradovic, Isalo, Scariolo, and Pablo Lasso. 4 very different people. And when you see them coach, 4 very different people. And when you see their teams, 4 very different styles of play. Okay? All of them successful. So there isn't a single way of doing things. That's one takeaway. There isn't one way of doing it. Okay? You have to work out what's going to work for you. And hopefully some of the principles that I'm going to give you are good to do that. Now, second point that is really important. I'm going to give you a lot of content, but you have to bring in the context. Because the content that I'm going to give you, you all work in different environments. Okay? And by the way, if we take it back one step, because a lot of you are working with younger players, right? Can you be a serial winning coach with young players? Okay? Is winning what matters? Or what does winning mean when we're working with young people?
Development.
Okay, development. So I'm a big believer that we can try and do both. I love winning, like I said it downstairs. I'm a competitive guy. Okay? But I also have a very clear philosophy that says to me, yeah, you can win, but not win at all costs. And not win by mortgaging the future, okay? By breaking them for the future. So for me, and again, if I can be so bold to give you advice, think about what winning means in your context. Okay? Because for me, serial winning is you are consistently achieving your goals. And for these guys that were in the picture, their goals is to win at the highest level. But for us, working at a different level, we need to define what winning means to us. Okay? Because win for me is that they come back next week. The win for me is that in 10 years' time, they're still playing. Win for me, the beauty of the only good thing about getting old, okay, is that because I've now been coaching for 30 years, I'm now getting former players bringing their children to my club. That's winning. Okay, if former players want their children to come to your club, that's winning. Okay, right? Just a little bit of context there in that. Okay, so why is that not showing full screen? Well, let's skip that in the rest. Okay. So the personality of serial winning coaches, like I said, we wanted to understand what these people are like. What kind of personalities allow people to win sustainably and consistently, okay? But traditional psychology looks at personality traits only, the things that you're born with, okay? Modern psychology looks at other things. Okay, the traits are important, okay? But it's also important to understand the motivations that people have and the self-narratives, the stories they tell about themselves. How they make sense of their own life, of their past, their present, and the future. Okay? So we wanted to understand these guys across these 3 elements. Okay? All right. So big 5 personality traits. So there's a lot of research in this in psychology, very well tested. These are sometimes some personality tests, the ones that you find in magazines and things like that, they're not very good. Okay? But this is scientifically proven. 5 key personality traits that make up a human being. Okay? 1 is your emotional stability. Okay? So how capable are you of remaining stable when things don't go well, for example? How much do you worry? Are you a typically worried person, anxious, or are you a relatively chilled person? Okay. Open-mindedness. How much are you happy to think in different ways? How curious are you about new knowledge? about finding new ways of doing things, about understanding how someone else does something to see if you can learn from someone. Okay? Agreeableness. How good are you at working collaboratively? Or is it, no, it's my way or the highway? Okay. Extroversion. How good are you in social situations? It doesn't mean that you have to be the funniest person in the room or always a joker. No. It's just about being good with people and being comfortable with people. And the final one is conscientiousness. Basically, how hard do you work? How organized are you? And how reliable are you? Okay. So we gave them a questionnaire to measure all of that. Okay? And we also did something that no one else had done before. We also gave the questionnaire to some of their athletes. So we could compare if what the coaches were saying about themselves matched what the athletes were saying about themselves. Okay? So, if I tell you emotional stability, what do you think? A serial winning coach, are they emotionally stable or emotionally unstable? What do you think? Show me your hands for if you think they are stable, hand up. If you think they are unstable, hand up. Is that you as a coach, or are you reflecting on your own coaches?
My own.
Okay, so we found that they're pretty high, pretty stable. Okay, but we also found that for a lot of them, it had been a learning curve. Right? Because the thing about personality traits, yes, you are born with them, but you can modify them. You can train yourself. For example, I am born emotionally unstable, okay? And I've got a very anxious Spanish mother to blame for that, okay? She's a lovely woman, okay? But she's very nervous, okay?
And she talks a lot.
And she talks a lot. You saw that in the car yesterday, okay? I phoned my mum yesterday from Joey's car for just a quick hello that lasted 12 minutes, okay? Anyway, she gave me a play-by-play of her day. So anyway, I'm honestly working on this, okay? I'm working on becoming more stable, less reactive, on deciding when I want to get worked up and when I need to be chill. Okay, so it can be worked. Open-minded. What do you reckon? These guys, serial winners, very open-minded or not so open-minded? What do you think? Open-minded. All right, so we found a mix. Some of them were quite open-minded, some of them not so much. Remember what I was saying? It's not the same for everybody. It doesn't have to be. Okay? So some of them open-minded, some of them less so. Okay? What about the agreeableness? How, my way or the highway, can we work these out together? What do you think these guys are?
I think a lot of my way.
A lot of my way.
Yeah.
So again, a mix. Some of them were very, very my way, some of them less so. However, a lot of them, or the majority of them, realize that with the new generations of players, even if your personality is my way, you have to find a way to make it more our way. Not their way, but our way. Okay? Because more and more new players have more, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, I think it's a good thing that players have a voice now. Okay? So we have to learn to maximize that. Okay? What about extroversion? Being good in social situations. All of them super high. But like I say, remember the 4 people. Okay? Scariolo, does he look very fun when he's coaching? He's a very serious guy, super organized. He's like an accountant. Okay, and I mean that as a compliment. Okay, Radovic, a demon on the court. But when you speak to players off the court, he's like a father to them. They would go, you would kill for them. Okay, so again, just good with people, and you have to find your own way to be good with people. What suits you? Okay. And what about the consensus, the hard work, the organization? Off the scale. These guys are beyond. Alright? So, what I'm saying that if you want to be a successful coach, there are different ways of doing it, at least what we know is that yes, there are different ways. But there seem to be three things that are quite important. That we have to aim to become emotionally stable. Because, I mean, why do we have to do that? Because our job is really hard. Okay, and if you're coaching at the higher, I mean, it's hard if you're coaching kids. Because there is still pressure. The parents, the club, you put yourself under pressure as well. Okay? If you're coaching at the highest level, everybody's looking at you. Right? If you're coaching Real Madrid, like Escariolo is, if you're not emotionally stable, you're going to last 2 minutes. Okay? But if you're Thomas, coaching in the NBA, if you're not emotionally stable, you're coming back in 48 hours. Okay? So just find a way to, if you think you've got room for improvement here, go on.
Would you say that, for example, Abramovich or Saras, that they are emotionally stable?
That's a great question. Okay?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, with Saras a little bit more, but Abramovich, he goes off a lot of the times, and I don't know. I think in timeouts maybe he's a little bit more calm, but during the game, he's seeing everything and saying everything and going, you know.
My response to that is always the stability point. Okay, is personalized. Okay, for me the key is at what point does your instability becomes a negative for you and your players. Okay, so Obradovic is up there.
Yeah.
Okay, Saras was up there.
Yeah.
And I think he's making an effort to calm down a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, and there are some interviews where he talks about that.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, the key is you need to realize how far can you push it before it becomes detrimental to you and to your players. Because some coaches, they can function like Obradovic. He looks like he's gonna die, like his artery is gonna pop. Okay, but he's still able to see everything. So my question would be, what are the players? Is that affecting the players? I don't know. Okay, right. But again, you know, and again, let's not forget as well that these guys are working with exceptional athletes. Right? If we behave like Obradovic with 15-year-olds, probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to find the point that works for you. That because you need a certain level of activation. Okay, but it's when that becomes detrimental. So it is a personal point, really, but you have to find it. And you could question, okay? Or even if you watch the EuroLeague now, for example, definitely in the NBA, all the coaches are emotionally stable, 95% of the time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's become the norm there.
Yeah, but it's also a different kind of coaching.
Different game, different everything. Okay, but that's the model there.
Yeah.
Okay, Obradovic couldn't coach in the NBA.
No.
Not because of the basketball knowledge.
No.
Why not? Why not?
Why not? Right. Let's not go down there. But my view is that the players wouldn't accept it. That's why I said that. The players currently in the NBA wouldn't take that level, that kind of leadership. Which is, say again?
That has to do with the emotional, with the culture that's out there. I think emotional stability is the culture is out for what makes the European coaches that go to America, that go to the NBA. But the culture in America is different than the European culture. So your emotional stability is going to be different completely. That's a living in a different culture.
No, I agree. And that's what I'm saying. That if he would have to adjust. If he doesn't adjust, he will be back in 48 hours. Because it's it's the culture and it's the level of acceptance from. I mean, the NBA is a players' league. It's not a coaches' league. It's a players' league. Okay? Where the coaches still carry a high level of influence, and no one's gonna sack Obradovic. Okay? He went before he got sacked.
Yeah.
Okay? Right? Anyway, so please, the main thing is these things appear to be important. Okay? Here as well, you need to decide who you want to be. What's best for you? Is it going to work being more open-minded or less, more agreeable or less? But at least you have to have some level of self-awareness to understand the type of coach you want to be. Okay, and I think that's key. And we understand who we want to be. Because then every time you're coaching, you can decide if you are reaching that level or not.
Sergio, ask a question, please. When this asks a certain amount of self-reflection, so if you look at these 5 in all of them, to be aware of where I need to change to be able to deal with my problems. Does self-reflection fit into one of these boxes, or is it another?
Self-reflection is above everything. Okay, so you see by the end of the session that I'm going to ask you to go away from here and be really self-reflective, to become very self-aware. The only way, and I'm going to sound like a guru, like a Buddhist guru. The only way to maximize your capacity is by becoming really self-aware. At 2 levels, says who do you want to be? You know, what are your red lines? You know, what kind of coach you want to be? What kind of person you want to be? Okay, and then being aware of in your practice, are you getting close to that, or are you below? Going back to this idea, I think around here and around here, I'm pretty happy with where I am. I still have a lot of improvement to do there. And I've got a lot better. You should have seen me 20 years ago. Oh my God. Or you should have seen me when I was a player. No emotional stability, 0. Okay? Right. So, but I'm now really clear about who I want to be. So I work towards that. And I know that perfection is impossible, but at least I know when I've let myself down because I haven't done what I want to do. Okay? So for me, that's self-awareness and self-reflection becomes central to everything. Okay? In fact, on Tuesday, when I go back to the university, we've got a session with our master student all about self-reflection. All about. Like 3 hours of just self-reflection. Teaching them different ways to reflect and what to reflect about. Okay, so that was the personality traits. But we talked about also the motivational themes, okay? What motivates these people? So we gave them another questionnaire, another test, and then we did, through the interviews, we asked them as well. And we found that there were 3 main themes that came through in terms of their motivation. So one was the idea of power. Okay? But please don't misunderstand power as I like to have power over other people. No, it's the idea of I have power over the things that happen to me. So yes, I can improve my performance. I can improve a player. I can talk to the owner of the club and try to convince him of doing this. I can manage my emotions, always on the positive of I can. I have the power and the agency to do things and to solve problems. Okay? That's one big thing. They live in a world where they can. Right? Second thing is the idea of growth. They constantly talk about getting better every day. Big thing for them. The idea of learning, I can learn, is a big thing for them. Really big thing. Right? And then final thing, the idea of winning. They love winning. They're not ashamed. Okay? These people need to win. I'll talk about it in a second, right? For different reasons. Okay? But they have a really, really near pathological desire to win. Okay? They are that way. Okay? So we're done. I hope this place. I've got some clips from Thomas. It's not me interviewing him. It's from a podcast. Okay? To illustrate some of these things. Okay?
Just like I cannot affect the what, but I can affect what I do with the opportunity that's given to me.
Let me play that again.
Just like I cannot
affect the luck, but I can affect what I do with the opportunity that's given to me.
So the idea of I cannot affect my luck, but I can affect what I can do with the opportunity that is given. He's got ownership, power. Okay.
You know, Finland is a very isolated place. Nobody comes to Finland. Nobody comes and gets coaches from Finland. But you could go on YouTube and start watching coaching clinics from all over the world, you know, and start studying. This is what we did. I ordered books from Amazon. We watched on YouTube. We watched NBA games with my brother. We tried to emulate players like Alec Houston's jump shot. Oh, you know, Reggie Miller moving off the floppy actions, like how he would.
Thomas doesn't speak any Spanish. Okay? He told me that he used to watch clinics in Spanish, okay, and with a Google Translate next to it, and just phonetically trying to work out what Pedro Martinez was saying to translate into English. All things. Okay? He's something else. Like in terms of learning, he's ridiculous. He reads 50 books every week. Okay? But he's a real advocate for learning. Okay?
I took, like, first day I took the best 2 players to the office. I said, how much do you hate losing? They said, we really hate losing. Like, we don't want to do this anymore. Okay? Well, like, then you need to listen to me. Just listen to me. I'm going to give us a direction, you know? And if you 2 guys, if I can go with you 2 guys, you know, I can go with anybody in the team. And they said, anything you mean, we will do it.
They really starting from the point of, if you want to win, let's do this my way. So it's relatively, the kind of agreeableness is relatively low. It sounds like it. Okay? But it's very much win. Yeah, I want to win. And there's no shame in that. Okay? And he said that from day one.
And you're looking.
Okay. Now, when you think about their motivation and their personality, what kind of people do you think they are? Are they people that grab the bull by the horns and face problems head on? Or are they people that put things under the carpet? What do you think? Bull by the horns? Okay? Definitely. Bull by the horns. Okay? I know that sounds really simple, okay? But I cannot emphasize how important this is. Because the problem is, as a high performance coach, there are a million things going on all the time. Okay?
The coach actually working with the carpet, because you brought one them, and they decided to ask you to
Okay, exactly. Most of the time, you have to, if you're not going to do something about something, you need to be very sure that it's not going to come back to you. Because most things, if you let them under the carpet, they will come back, one way or another. Or they will fester, small things become bigger. Okay? So for example, going back to my lack of emotional stability. Okay? For me, that's one thing that whenever I feel that in a training session, in a game, it could be in a meeting at work, okay, that I got to a level that wasn't good enough, I'll apologize straight away. Okay? Because I don't want anybody to go away from me. Oh, this guy doesn't like me. No, that's on me, that's my bad. Okay? I said the wrong thing there, or I didn't do the right thing there. Okay? So that's, and like that, everything else. We can't let problems go unsolved, because then they become really big. And the job is complex enough without us self-sabotaging ourselves. Okay?
You know, we started okay, let's just be brutally honest. What's the worst thing that can happen? And somebody's gonna be upset for a few minutes, and we're gonna win 4 basketball games. You know, but it's such a human thing, you know, to avoid that because of fear, because of like, what if they turn against you? But if you're doing it for the right reasons, if you're doing it for the betterment of the team, I've noticed that the higher the level you go, the more the guys want to win. That's why they are there. The more.
He's talking about if there is an issue with a player, you will face it straight away. Because he doesn't want to let it get worse, or he doesn't want other players to start doing the same thing. Okay? That takes courage. The idea of go by the horns always. Unless you know that that thing will not come back, that it will fix itself. Okay? It is very rare that things fix itself. Okay? All right. Now, we know they want to win. Okay, we know their personalities. So what do we think? Are these guys there for themselves? Are they for me type of people? Or are they for others? For me? Put your hand up if you think that for me. You think that for others? Everybody else? Okay. I have to apologize, it was a trick question. Because you can be both. Okay? And what we found with these guys are very high on both. They, like I said, they have a pathological need to win for themselves. Okay? But in the main, the vast majority of them also have a really strong motivation for helping other people, for helping their players achieve their goals, or helping their athletes achieve their goals. And you can be both. Okay? And I think that's actually, for me, it's like an insurance policy. The way I explain this is like an insurance policy, because if you're very motivated for your own success, you know, you're always going to be motivated. But there are days when you don't succeed. You lose games. Something happens. Okay? You get sacked. Okay? So if you don't have something else you can fall back on, it might be difficult to get out of bed every day and be motivated. If the only thing that motivates you is winning, you can't win all the time. Okay? And sometimes some people never win. Okay? But if you've got a motivation to support other people, that balances things for me. Like I said, it's like an insurance policy. And I feel that way. I love winning. Okay? But I know that I really care about my 15-year-old that I'm coaching now. I want to be the best I can be for them. I want to support them. So I don't care. Like this week we have 2 games. We won yesterday. We probably lose today. Okay? Fine. Because I'm going to come back there on Tuesday, and I'm hoping this is not about me anymore. So it's that balance. Okay? You can be both. Because I used to feel guilty. But I really had that feeling that this was about me, especially earlier when I was younger. Okay? Well, you can be both. There's no guilt in what thing to do. Okay. Alright, what about values? What kind of values and beliefs these people have? So we had a few surprises here. One was, we saw that these guys, and remember, we spoke to their athletes and players, okay? They have a very high moral stance. So trust, respect, loyalty, honor, very important for these people. And very important for the athletes. Okay? And we were having a conversation yesterday about, and this morning was with you people. Trust is the most important thing you can have as a coach. If your players or your athletes don't trust you, you're screwed. You're finished. Okay? And the moment you lose their trust, you're done. Especially at the higher level. Okay? So these guys were really strong on their values. They wanted to be trusted. And the word is their God, as they say. Okay? So that's very important. They were also quite athlete-centered. But that doesn't mean that they only do what the athletes want or what the players want. But they're very considerate. When they have to make decisions, they think about what's best for the athlete or the player. They don't make decisions only for themselves. Now, this is easy to do, or easier, in individual sports. But it's harder to do in team sports. Because sometimes you have to make decisions that go against a player for the sake of improving the team. All right? That's where the trust and the open conversations that you need to have, being good with people, come into play. You have to build enough trust that at some point you have to say to someone, I'm sorry, you're not playing. Or I'm sorry, you're selling. Or I'm sorry, you are not going to play for the next 3 games, but you're going to play 5 minutes instead of 25. Okay? And you can have those conversations, and that the player. So we interviewed a player from the Spanish national team in relation to Sergio, and he was saying, well, the best thing about him, about Sergio, is that you can trust him. Okay? And you know that when he's making decisions, he's thinking about it, and he's thinking about the impact of that decision on you. So you know he's not making decisions lightly. He really cares, but he has to make decisions. He's the coach. So that's that understanding. Okay? Again, remember, players have to also put themselves in the shoes of the coach. Okay? It's hard. And this is an interesting one. Okay? In terms of values, the coaches said that they valued having some sort of work-life balance. I thought that didn't exist. Okay? Now, the thing is, the work-life balance of a coach is very different to the work-life balance of someone that works in an office. Okay? It's a relative work-life balance. But what the coaches said, what these guys were saying to us is, you have to find your balance. something that works for you, and you have a family for your family or your friends, but you have to strive to find something that works for you. While also understanding that there will be moments where there is zero balance. But then with you and people around you have to understand that. Okay? So if you're taking a team to the Olympics, for the previous 3 months, there's no balance. Okay? You're going to be going all over the place, and your family is not going to see you. Okay? Everybody needs to understand that. But when you come back from the Olympics, you have to make time. So you have to balance things. Okay? So it's a relative balance. But it's important. They thought that it was important to have some sort of balance. Okay. Cool.
So then
Okay. To get to this point, the idea of so we talked about personality traits, motivations, and now we're going to talk about the stories we tell ourselves. We as human beings, we need to make sense of who we are. Okay, so I told details of that. Now we need to, in our heads, we all have a story, a movie that makes sense to us. Okay, it could be with a happy ending or with a bad ending or a sad ending. But we explain our life in a particular way. Okay, so if I give you quickly my highlights from my life. If I look at my life as a movie, born in Spain during a dictatorship. Okay, then experienced the young Spanish democracy of the 80s and 90s, got into basketball, thought was going to be a really good player, ended up being an okay player, but never to the level that I wanted to, so I was frustrated. I went into coaching trying to be a better coach than I was a player. Then I moved to England, and I stayed there because I wanted to do a PhD, and that's my life. And I'm very happy there with my family. Okay? That's my movie. That's how I make sense of my life. Okay? Someone else with the same life could tell a different story. The story could go, I went to England and my life came to an end. Okay, because I should have stayed. That's never the way I make sense of my story. But we all do that. Even if you're not aware of it, we all tell a story about ourselves. Okay. So some stories that these guys tell. They talk about a lot about insecurity. They're relatively insecure, believe it or not, despite their success, they're relatively insecure. Okay? But that insecurity is it's not debilitating. It's what keeps them going. It protects them from thinking, that's it, I'm done, I'm good, I don't need to work hard anymore. No, they're always thinking, can I win the game? Am I still good enough? In our case, has the game moved beyond me now? Okay? But at the same time, they've got this idea of a grounded self-belief. They've been there, they've done it, they know they can do it. But it's that combination of believing you can do it, but at the same time, thinking, having that element of self-doubt, that I think makes them who they are. Okay? And again, for me, that's liberating, because I have a good amount of self-doubt, which I thought was debilitating. But actually, if you can manage it, it's a good thing. Not thinking that you have all the answers is a good thing. Because it keeps you curious. It keeps you learning. It keeps you having to work hard. You never settle. You're not complacent. Okay? So I think that's an interesting finding really from the idea, from the research. Was despite all the winning, they're quite insecure in a way, in a good way.
Of course, I'm not ready for this opportunity, but who is? You know, you're never ready for something. And my only thing that was going through my head is, okay, I'm not ready, but this will not be because of effort, you know? So I literally worked for the 7 weeks. I worked 16 and 18 hours a day. I was alone. I just watched the videos. I was doing this. Family was in Finland. Family was independent. I didn't do anything else.
So Thomas Isler will say, I know I'm not ready, okay? But I'm going to work really hard. To me, that's really important. That is, you can't think, I'm not ready. I think we're all entitled to thinking, I'm not ready. Okay, I'm not, I don't know everything. Alright, so quickly around the idea of leadership. How do these people lead? Because obviously, the interesting thing about knowing their personality is that, or why we need to understand our personality, is because our personality is going to condition the way we behave. Okay? So back to the idea of self-awareness. If we don't know who we are and how that impacts on how we behave, then we cannot really get better because we don't know what's going on. Okay? So their leadership is really influenced by their personality. Okay? And their motivations and the story they tell about themselves. So we looked at the way they live, and we came up with this idea of caring determination. Okay? So I'll let you read that quickly. Okay, so I summarize it as the heart and the hammer. Okay? The relentless pursuit of excellence, balanced with a very genuine and compassionate desire to help others and to help yourself. Let's not forget that. Okay? That we have to look after ourselves as well. If we burn out, if we're not in a good place ourselves, we can't help anybody else. Not sustainable. The hammer and the heart, the two combined. You can't have just one or the other. Okay? Teams don't get better only on love. Okay? Or only on the hammer. If you can use the hammer, but if you only use the hammer, that's not sustainable. That might last for a season, for half a season, but it's not going to last. And we want to win sustainably. Okay?
And I became a very different coach. And that's when I started really becoming like who you see today, which is not when I coach the team. I'm not Tuomas. Right now you're talking to Tuomas, who's a very easygoing, great humor, but at least in my own opinion. And you know, like very easygoing guy. But when practice starts, when I'm doing my job, that's Coach Giesel. And Coach Giesel is the most intolerant person when it comes to anything that gets in the way of winning. And that guy is like, he was never satisfied at anything and just wants more and more and more. But I'm able to switch between these two modes, and that has been a key for our relations. Like, yeah, in practices, I'm the most demanding guy. As practice is over, we can't affect anymore how much we're improving. So now, it's just you and me as human beings, you know, interacting. But during the practice, we have our roles. I'm the head coach, you're assistant coach, you're a player. It's, I do my job, you do your job, and everything will be taken care of. Yeah.
I love the idea of, so in practice, I'm Coach Giesel. Outside of practice, I'm Thomas. And Thomas can have a relationship with you and be caring. Okay? In practice, I'm going to be determined. But in life, I'm going to be caring. I'm Thomas. Okay? So I find that really, it's probably actually, I like this quote from Thomas because it's probably the best explanation I've found by a coach about this idea of you have to do both. And you have to know that you're doing both. And you have to separate them. Okay? But I'm going to come on to something in a second. Right? Okay. This is a quote from one of the coaches talking about how to be caring and determined at the same time. Treat people right. Be a person of integrity. You're allowed to be demanding, but you've got to be supportive. Okay? I think making people accountable is a tough job, but I think you can go about it in a way that puts the responsibility in them and allows them to feel good about themselves. Okay? That's this guy, 12 gold medals. Okay? In individual sport. Okay? And this is from an athlete. Okay? He's not a dictator, but he's very firm. I mean, he's not trying to be everybody's friend. He respects all his athletes, but he especially respects in return. And when people need motivating, he's never short of a smile. And he will sit down and put his arm around you. He doesn't have to crack a big whip, but he can if he needs to. So we have a combination of being really caring, but also when needed, being determined. Okay? Those two things, the hammer and the heart. Okay? Bear in mind, the hammer can be a sledgehammer. Okay? Okay? We're not talking here about abusing players or We're talking about being demanding. And not in an abusive way. There's zero tolerance for that. Okay. And I know sometimes some of the things that we see on TV look very borderline abusive. Okay? On the sidelines. In every sport. Okay? So, yeah. We don't have to be like that. Okay? But being determined and being demanding can be done without being abusive. I'd like to think that I'm a very demanding coach, and I'm not abusive. Okay. Alright, so what does it look like? What does determination look like in your life? You need to have a focus of where you're going. And if you as a coach don't know where you're going, it's going to be hard for them to follow. Okay? And be as determined, because you want to be as determined as you are. Okay? Show that you've got the commitment. If you are demanding commitment from them, they have to see that you got it as well. Okay? So for example, the guys that we interviewed talked a lot about being first to practice, being last to leave as a coach, being prepared, being ready, being there for people. Okay? Demonstrating to the players that you're not going to ask them to do anything that you're not prepared to do. Okay? Holding them to high standards all the time. And I know a coach called it, I call myself, I'm the guardian of the standards. I'm the person that doesn't mind every now and again looking like a school teacher, okay, for the sake of maintaining the standards. I'm like that, for example. One of the things that I hate my players doing, okay, is when we're training and they leave, and I call a timeout or go for a drink or whatever, and they leave the basketballs everywhere. When we've got a nice box, we put the basketballs in there. For me, that's a lack of discipline. And a lack of, for me, that's a low standard, because they're not valuing our biggest equipment, the basketball. Put the basketballs away safe, okay? And then go and get a drink. Don't throw the basketball there. Everybody can take it, walk away with it, okay? Those basketballs cost 80 euros. I mean, my players have heard me say that so many times. You know, the wheels of basketball, the Evo one, that's 80 euros. That's crazy. Okay? They just throw it there like it doesn't matter. Okay? Anyway, so for me, I have to maintain standards. And you have to choose what those standards are. Okay? You have to maintain standards. And you have to role model the standards. You can't be asking them for something, but then you're not going to do something. Okay? So the best way to be determined is to show that you're behaving the same way. Okay? And one of the things that you have to show them as well is that you're resilient. That when things go wrong, and we know this in sport happens all the time, and in high performance sport happens all the time, shit happens. You have to bounce back quickly. Okay? If they see the coach low, they will be low.
After 0-5, that one hit in power. Boom, here.
Right, so that we've looked at the determination, okay? So what does caring look like? Okay? Person-centered. Do your athletes know that you see them first as people rather than just athletes or players? Do they know you care about them as a human being? Because if they don't, you're in trouble. Okay? It goes a long way when they feel that there's more than basketball. Okay? Do they feel they've got a little bit of shared ownership? That coaching is not a thing that we do to them, but that coaching is something that we do with them. Okay, and they have a little bit of say as to what happens here. Okay. Are you adaptable to different people? So can you be a different coach to different players? I know we always talk about equity is about everybody the same. That's not equity. Okay? Equity is giving everybody what they need. Right? So we might have to be a different person for different people. Okay? Or a different coach. Are we stable and dependable? Care, or showing that you care, means being stable for people and people can depend on you. Okay? If they feel that, they will go to war with you. They think that they can depend on you, and you're always going to be there. Okay? Big thing. Big thing. Okay, so I'm going to skip to that one there. Okay, so and then I'll give you another slide, and then I'm done. Okay, but look, when we started doing this research 10, 12 years ago, I thought that caring determination was like a thermometer. Okay, that sometimes you choose to be here and being really caring, and sometimes you decide to go out there and go, wow, we need to do this, we need to do that. Okay, and to an extent, that can happen sometimes. You know, when you can choose a moment when you're going to be really caring, and choose another moment when you're going to be really demanding. Okay? But as we've progressed the research, what we found is this more. Okay? And actually, rather than a continuum from one to the other, caring is the foundation. Okay? You have to get them to understand that you care for them and demonstrate the care before everything else. If we have a foundation of care and trust, then we can be really demanding. And they will take it, and they will follow you. But if we don't start with the care, we talked about it this morning, right? Care and trust is the biggest thing. Okay? And I call it connection before correction. Don't try to correct people until they know that you care. Build the connection before you try to do the correction. And that applies to kids, to seniors, and to everything. It's a lot easier for people to take your correction when they understand that it comes through connection, because you mean well for them. Okay? Cool. So, final thing. Okay, let me just skip to this. Okay. To me, what is the superpower of a serial winning coach? For me, it's the adaptability. These guys are like chameleons. Okay? They've got so much in the main self-awareness and understanding of people and of situations that they can change their color to fit the situation. Okay? They're not the same coach all the time. Right? At two levels. One level of flexibility is the cognitive flexibility. Flexibility of your mind that allows you to be open-minded, so you can see different solutions. You can understand multiple viewpoints, and then decide what's going to work for you. That allows you to be really flexible and therefore responsive, so you can respond in different ways. Okay? And that allows you to be innovative. The cognitive flexibility is really important. If we're stuck only in one way of doing things, we're going to struggle. But our game and our society is too rich to only have one way of doing things. Okay? But also we need the emotional flexibility. Our environment is a highly charged environment. Okay? So we have to have emotional control. So we can then make good decisions. Okay? You have to be resilient. One of the quotes from one of the coaches was, never too high, never too low. So, when we win, I don't go like into the champagne. When we lose, I don't lock myself in a room. It's part of the job. Yes? Be stable. Okay? And be socially competent. Emotional flexibility allows you to get on with different types of people, which is what you're going to have to do as a coach. We're going to have 12 different players that are all different. Okay? And finally, and for me this is really important, emotional flexibility allows you to let go of your own ego when your ego gets in the way. And I hope you can all think of a situation where you made the wrong choice because your ego and protecting yourself and your ego got in the way. And at times, all the time when we're coaching, we have to let go of our ego because we are there for other people. Then we have to respond to what they need, not to what we need. Okay? And all the time when you see people shouting on the sideline, why are they shouting? Because they need to let energy up for themselves. Even if it's not helping the players. Even if it's actually bad for the players. You have to understand that shouting is not doing anybody any good. Or even if it's doing you any good, it's not doing anybody else any good. So you shouldn't do it. You have to find another way to let that energy go. Okay. So anyway, cognitive flexibility and emotional flexibility.
Right. Just
Okay, Hans. I'm going to let you with this video because to me it highlights exactly the kind of person we want to be or not want to be as a coach. Okay, and then I'm done and we can go and have a beer and watch the game and go Netherlands. Okay? Thanks.
Whoa, that's not good.
Oh, I don't need this. I'm already late.
So when will come? Anybody out there?
Do you have a phone?
No. Sorry. Somebody! Hello! There are two people stuck on an escalator and we need help. Now, would somebody please do something? I don't believe this. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm gonna cry.
Well, something else left to do.
Hello? Hey, don't worry about it. I'll fix it in a second.
You said you can fix it. All right. All right. That's more like it. You said you could fix it.
Tell me that isn't coaching. Okay? How many times in coaching does our escalator stop and we go? Okay, and we don't do it. Or we don't do anything for the next 5 minutes. Okay? To me that's the best analogy of coaching I've ever found. Listen to that. It's gonna happen all the time. Okay, so you can choose to go up the escalator, to go down, to jump, to find another escalator, but you can just stand there. Okay? If we saw anything from these guys is that they had such a level of adaptability that whatever happened to them, they were just fine. Hilke said it this morning a few times, and I love that. Find a way. There is always a way. You just haven't found it. Okay? So please be adaptable and don't get stuck on the escalator. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you. I don't know if everybody understands how priceless it is. The information that you shared with us is amazing. I know you wanted me to ask you a question about what is your tip for our team tonight, but actually I'm not going to ask that question, because actually what I wanted to bring to everyone's attention is that we had a youth clinics this morning, and if you look at all of the competencies that are asked of a coach, the most successful coaches, for example, all of the competencies that have been built up are things that we're already working on with youth players. And that the competencies that we give them help them to better deal with just being a person, whether they're a coach or not. And that's such an important role that we play as youth coaches. I say we are also a youth coach too. And that we shouldn't forget that that's even above coaching youth to be good at basketball, is coaching youth to be a better contributors to the whole society. So that's a very noble and important role that we all play, and it's really underestimated. And you've reinforced it again from the top down. Thank you very much.
To me tonight.
Yeah.
Continuity, spacing,
Space
movement,
space
penetrate the defense.
The list of 8. Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much. You want Jimmy to say anything?
Hey, the game's about to start in 15, so if you didn't register with Bo, please do so right now. Otherwise, enjoy the game. No, this is only one chapter of the book. So we have, it was like 21, chapter 17.
Something like that.
Yeah.
By the book, you mean?
So I was going to say, on a serious note, the idea of one top thing. These guys talk about having a vision and a clear philosophy. Okay? That to me is the starting point. The same way we need to know ourselves, we need to know our vision for basketball of your club. And it doesn't have to be the best vision, but it has to be shared by everybody. Right? A bad idea that a lot of people follow is much better than a great idea that no one follows. Okay? Promise me. So think about who you want to be and what's your basketball, what's your idea of your club, and try and get people to follow that view. Because that's the only way. Right? Sorry.